In the northern part of the kingdom west, this is where Lionsgate lies. Here the bird sings outside his nest as he greets the morning sunrise. In Lionsgate, 'neath the tall fir trees, on your face feel the ocean breeze. Feel the magic that's in the air in Lionsgate the fair. To Lionsgate my thoughts return. I stop and I dream for a while of tourneys bold and fests nocturne, and ladies whose smiles beguile. In Lionsgate, 'neath the tall fir trees, on your face feel the ocean breeze. Feel the magic that's in the air in Lionsgate the fair. The forest, the trees, the folk friendly, there's naught that can compare to the enchanted land that I call my home. Call it Lionsgate the fair. To Lionsgate, 'neath the tall fir trees, on your face feel the ocean breeze. Feel the magic that's in the air in Lionsgate the fair. And now, my friends, my journey begins back to my far northern home. I turn my steps to my origins. To Lionsgate I must roam. To Lionsgate, 'neath the tall fir trees, on your face feel the ocean breeze. Feel the magic that's in the air in Lionsgate the fair. In Lionsgate, 'neath the tall fir trees, on your face feel the ocean breeze. Feel the magic that's in the air in Lionsgate the
I should mute again. Sorry.
Okay, well, this is my class on digital research, really. My name's Isabella Lucrezia, for anyone who doesn't know me. So we all know books are an important aspect for our research, etc. And there was a time when research on the internet was very frowned upon because it always had to be books. But that really has changed with the social media and with the reach of the internet now. And so there's lots of tools that we can use. Doesn't always replace books, but there's certainly tons of information that you can get online that sometimes you can't even get from books. A good example of that is every picture that Janet Arnold, I don't know how many of you are familiar with her, she did a lot of the Medici, particularly the Eleanor of Toledo burial ground. And there's actually a webpage called the Medici Project, where every picture Janet Arnold took while she was working on that project is available. There isn't any book that I'm aware of that has all these pictures. And you can see, like, there's pictures here where you can see the back side of where they couched down all the gold work that, like, would be here, etc. You can see details, you can see the stitches. It's like an amazing resource that that you can find now on the internet that you never could before. So it really is a fantastic place to do your research. So some of this that I'll go over, obviously people are on computers. Most people are aware of all the sort of basics, but I'm covering them anyways, just because some people might not be aware. Obviously, Wikipedia is, I think, a good place to start sometimes because it'll give you an overview of some subjects. Of course, you don't know who put the information on there, so you can't really trust it, but at least it's a start. And almost every Wikipedia page will have some sort of reference at the bottom of books, links, etc., that you could utilize to dig deeper into that article on Wikipedia. Like, for instance, over here, number 44, Elizabeth Crowfoot, Cloth and Clothing from the Museum of London. That's an excellent book. So it's kind of like a bibliography on Wikipedia. So it's a good place to start. Pinterest, I both love and hate Pinterest because it comes up in every search. You can, of course, go to Google and you can take out Pinterest, but still, again, you're going to get a lot of information on those Pinterest links that you might not get elsewhere. So you can also, I'm sure most of you have used Pinterest, you can make boards, sort them by subject matter, etc. The thing too that you can do when you do these links is, or these pictures, is you can put the link of where you got the picture so that you can go back to that web page and find it. In fact, you should, otherwise you'll go, where the heck did that come from? And we'll never find it again. So that makes it really useful to save all your stuff. Of course, other people save their stuff. And then when you're searching for Coptic tunics, you get 47 million Pinterest pages, but still useful. Google search, everybody has used Google search. I tend to go to the pictures all the time just because I get a good idea of if it's what, like if you look in the middle here, I don't know if you guys can see my pointer, but I'm going to do it anyway. You can see like this picture here is an extant shawl, like this one the woman at the bottom is wearing. So I probably want to go and look at that link to see if there's more information about that shawl. So I kind of bounce back between the all, which gives you the descriptions, and the pictures, because the pictures, sometimes you can get pages that have nothing to do with what you want to look at. And so if you try to just go through the links, you don't necessarily, especially if they're not in English. Fun fact, this picture of Jennifer Lopez is what Google search was invented for the picture search. So many people were searching for it that Google actually invented Google image search because of it. Isn't that fun? Google Scholar is another way to search. It's more specifically academic than just Google. So you will get better PDFs, citations. It can certainly send you down a rabbit hole because you will find, like, you can see how it says whether it's a citation, which most people I'm sure know that just means that it's mentioned in the paper or the web page, or PDFs. Several of those on this page are PDFs. So it can send you on a different direction of something else that you weren't looking for, but now, oh, that looks interesting. And so you'll click on it and go. So I highly recommend Google Scholar. You can get rid of citations, you can get rid of patents, you can, with Google, you can sort and get rid of certain things that you don't want. Like, for instance, you can get rid of Pinterest if you just want to get through that. This is very weird doing this to my own screen. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just talking to myself. So that's just more, that's already what I covered. Foreign languages, this is one of the big things that I started to do, where English is great, but I soon found out that there are, of course, people all over the world researching the same things I'm researching, and they're not doing it in English, and their web pages aren't on English. So if I'm going to search for Finnish costuming in English, I'm not going to get PhD theses that are written by people in Finland in Finnish. So I started using different languages. And if you use Google Chrome, it will translate web pages for you, so that if you type in a word in Finnish and it brings up a Finnish web page, it will translate it to English. It'll ask you, do you want to translate it? And about the third time, it'll just go, okay, I'm just going to translate them all, which of course, yes, I want them translated all the time. So here's an example where I put in a search in Google Translate, and I translated it to Slovenian in this case. So then I'm going to do a search in Slovenian. And what I will do is I will search in Swedish, in Finnish, in Russian for sure. And I will just see what these different languages pick up so that I can get a better idea of what's out there. So that's basically what I just said there. So this is the pages that came up in Slovenian. So I would take that, and then now I would go to the images as well to see what images might be there. Most of these obviously are modern things. There's something there that's a textile, so I'm going to be interested to see what that page is. So you kind of go through that, and I do that in a bunch of different languages just to see what information might be out there. I also do, so when I do that as well, I'm conscious of the fact that different cities are called different things from different time periods and different languages. So I do a lot of research on late Roman Egyptian clothing. And so a big find for there was in Antino, but it's also called Antinolupus. And oh, I've got that twice. So it's like there's several different names that's under. So I search for them all because, again, depending what people are posting their web pages or papers as, it can affect which things come up in your search. So always try to figure out what names might be out there. So here's an example of a page in Russian that I found while searching a search term in Russian. Finding things in Russia, there's a ton of people doing research. They're not that concerned about breaking copyright. So you find entire books that are scanned page by page. Sadly, they also don't know about Adobe Acrobat, so they tend to be like 300 JPEGs that you have to download. But this is that same page now that Google has translated it. I gotta say, this one is really quite good. The more you do a search in a language, the more improvement it gets over time. So, you know, at first, whenever I got like a Russian page, it would be pretty gobbledygook. I could maybe make out enough to figure out what was on it, but now when I do one, it comes like, if you can read that, it's pretty good for being totally legible. So it's a fantastic thing that clearly we did not have, 10 years ago, even 20 years ago. This is a one I did searching in Finnish. Finnish is a crazy language that it has a lot of trouble translating, but this is the translation and it's not too bad. If I get a word that just will not translate, I will usually highlight that word and I will Google that particular word so that I can see what comes up for that word. And even though I may not know what it totally is, it'll give me usually enough idea of what it is so that I can make out what it's saying on any given page if I see it again. So this one, again, I will find this is where it's got, obviously, you can see a lot of words that aren't necessarily translated. And so I will do what I said and just go find these pages and see what's on them. So this is what I'm doing here is I've taken that expression and now I know that that's what those words are if I come up and they aren't. You can also improve the Google translations. If you find out what the word is, you can like input it and so that it will get better at those words moving forward. Another thing, so if you have books, again, we used to have to painstakingly do word by word by word. But now there's apps. These are a couple apps. There's Abby Text Grabber and Translator and Datacon Scanner and Translator. And they both are fantastic because you can take a picture of a page in a book or a picture on the web of something in a foreign language, and then you can translate it. So again, you don't have to type it all in. So then you bring it in. So this is an OCR. Once I've taken the picture, I've made it an OCR. So that's the OCR on the top left in Russian. And then you can see below that on the right, top right, it's now translated it into English. And then I can take that translation and I can email it to myself. So what I often do is I will make a Word document where I will then take this from the email and I will cut and paste. So I have the Russian and I have the English translation so that I can work through the book. And then I have it. And then you can see at the bottom right, those are all different dates that I've done translations. So it's also saved in the app. So that's great. I prefer to email it so that I can make a Word document, start my translations, and keep moving with my research and come back to it when I want to. Another good source that a lot of people use is academia.edu. This is where a ton of people put up their papers and books. You have to be careful because anybody can upload their things here. So, you want to make sure that it's still a sound source if you download it. But here, like Margarita Gleba, the top left, she is an author of some books I have, and it's been bookmarked by Lisa Bender Jorgensen, who is a quite well-known researcher. I've got books like North European Textiles is one of her books, which I have right on my shelf there. So if she's interested in a paper, I'm kind of interested as well, because obviously she is one of the people I read the books from. So, and then with this web page, you can get, it will email you if you want. So I get daily, oh, you might be interested in this paper or that paper. So it starts tying in, like Pinterest does as well. Oh, look, we found this and we think you might be interested in it. So it's a fabulous, and you can search for subjects, authors, time periods, whatever. It's a fair amount of digging if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, but it can be quite the rabbit hole as well to find out, find all kinds of information and by really good sources. Obviously, forums aren't really as much of a thing now as they used to be, but there's still some out there. This is an example of when I was doing the Roman costuming. There's an author called Graham Sumner, who I knew isn't on Facebook, but he was on the Roman Army Forum. And he's written several books. He's actually the author who had an illustration that got me started on this line of thought. And I knew it was on this forum, which I was also on. So I casually one day just posted, something about my research. and he responded to my post, and then he wanted to see the riding coats I had made that I'd started based on his drawing. And then, you know, when we communicated, he then sent me papers that hadn't been translated yet and hadn't been published. So that was a fantastic thing that I got only because of this ability on this forum. So that was one of the first times I reached out to an author myself. Since then, I've gotten a lot more bold about it. The thing about authors is they're not exactly like, you know, famous actors or famous rock stars. So when somebody respectfully writes them and, you know, asks them about their work and tells them about what you're researching, I have found that even when people don't have time to go back and forth, they've really appreciated me reaching out. So it's really good to, you know, take a chance. If there's somebody that you know, but research is something you're interested in, then you've got nothing to lose by trying to reach out to them. I've done it a lot. You know, like I knew that a piece of the fabric for the riding coats, for the Roman riding coats I do, was located in a gallery in Seattle. I found that out through one of my books. So I reached out to that gallery and I was able to get a private viewing of these fabric books from that Roman find that otherwise I would never have been able to see because it's not on public display. So again, cost me nothing to reach out, and they were really happy to accommodate me. And it was fascinating to see these fabrics that were 2,000 years old and the colors were still intact. I mean, the archaeologists cut pieces out of the find, so that was terrible, but you know, worked out in my favor at this point. So that's the sort of presentation part. And now if anybody has some more questions, I know that wasn't very long, but it's usually there's questions as we go. So it's kind of.
I have a question, Izzy. I have found similar things that museums have been very receptive to responding. Do you have any guidance or advice for how to approach a museum?
I don't say I'm with the SCA. I think it's better now than it used to be, but the SCA didn't used to have a very good reputation as being serious researchers or seriously interested in subjects. So I always say I'm an independent, doing independent research. So, and when I went to the Henry Art Gallery, I mean, they just have this thing, they don't really know much about it. So I was able to tell them more about the find for the textile books than they knew, because it was gifted to them in somebody's will. So yeah, just be respectful. I usually, you know, say what I admire about their work, and then let them know what sort of research I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to find out. And that's really, it's been as simple as that, really.
I also find that the more specific your question, the more helpful they are. Like if you just say, I want to find out about these 10th century things, they're like, well, we have a huge collection. Which particular pieces are you interested in? But if you say, oh, I saw this X piece, the catalog number is this. Can you tell me more about it? Do you have stuff on it? They'll send you tons of stuff.
Yeah, I do that too. And actually I was doing that recently. Like including the number is key. Like, and you can find that online to really get, so that the person, the like admin person who receives it, can get it sent to the right person. That's yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I'm usually researching a very specific thing. I think we all know, like when we start in the SCA, our interests are out here. And, like I have books that boxes and boxes of books, as Ariana can attest to, that I bought early in my SCA experience that I'm getting rid of now, because I will buy 4 books that are like, one's the Renaissance and one's medieval times. And now I want a book about one button, so you tend to take it from here to get really tunneled into one specific thing often. So usually when I'm looking, that's what I'm doing.
Is there any way that you can look for peer-reviewed material?
Yeah, usually I don't look for peer review. I find peer reviewed. So
I know in terms of academic research as well, that is sort of the thing, is, yes, you can get it from online as long as it's from a peer-reviewed source.
Yeah, I don't know that a lot of the research papers and books that we're looking at would be necessarily peer-reviewed. I don't think, like, when I'm looking for scientific stuff, then I will go to places that have peer-reviewed papers and things like that. But that's not usually what I'm looking for. Like, it's not peer-reviewed in the same way. Oh yeah, somebody mentioned JSTOR. That's a good point.
Yes,
JSTOR is a good source, and it's free right now till the end of December. So some of these websites like JSTOR do go free every now and again. So,
and if you're an alumnus of a university and have a library card there, that often gives you access to their library, and they have JSTOR usually as part of their office.
Yeah. And you can buy a membership to get access to JSTOR when it's not free. If you want to get a lot of papers, then it's worth paying for.
I usually keep a list, and then when I get enough to make it worth it, I'll buy like a 1-month thing and then download all the papers that I want to download.
Yeah. Sometimes it's funny. I reached out to an author I found that when I search, one thing I do, like when I'm searching, say, Roman clothing, and I find a paper that's interesting, the same as with the book, I will go through the bibliography and I will start searching for the authors of other papers to see what they've written. And through all this, I found somebody who had done a thesis on there's these mummy paintings from Egypt, the Roman mummy paintings. And she had done her thesis on this, and I wanted a copy of this thesis. And I contacted her, but she doesn't own her thesis. So I had to contact Oxford. And Oxford said, well, we can send you a copy. And what it really sounded like is some old guy is going to go to a basement on a rickety old photocopier and photocopy 400 pages of this thesis, and they would mail it to me. And it was going to cost me $400. And then I went back to the author and the PhD lady, and I told her that, and she's like, huh. And she doesn't get any of that money. So, I was trying to talk her into, have you thought of self-publishing, or people would actually buy it? Like, I would pay money to pay her, but not for a crazy photocopied version of something I don't even know. I have not even seen it. I just know I saw a review of it. So that's why I was interested. So, yeah, Nurege, is that how I pronounce the name, Nurege? I don't know. Anyhow, she also mentions the Met Museum site. A lot of these museums have books, and you can download them for free. They also have, especially in the last couple of years since I created this class, so many museums have high quality, high resolution pictures on their web pages that you can find any items that they have on display, sometimes items they don't even have on display. So it's worth going to all the museums. The Met has excellent detailed photos, and they're usually, and then the one where all the Burqa stuff is escapes me at the moment. So there's lots of museum pictures where you used to not be able to get those at all, except in crappy black and white pictures in books. Fortunately, more things are in color now than they used to be, but.
Yeah, I find the V&A and the Louvre I tend to be going to a lot now too.
Yeah.
They seem to have improved their sites a lot.
Yes, Miss Aurelia.
Actually, it was me is that had the question.
Well,
So
you're putting up your hand, so.
when you were talking about translation, you talked about translating from Finnish and that it's a bit crazy. And so I was thinking as you were saying it, that Finnish is said to be fairly close to Magyar or closest Magyar than anything else, which is what they speak in Hungarian. So I thought, what if you translated to Magyar first? Would that give you a better translation? So my question is, French is a really global language. If you were to translate to French from a source language to French and then English, have you ever tried anything like that? If you're struggling to get a translation?
I do that sometimes, but the trouble is I don't speak any of those other languages either, so I don't know what's being changed. In terms of like the Google Chrome, it automatically does it. So, but I do, like in Google Translate, when I'm putting things in, I will try to switch up languages and I sometimes do that where I do different languages to see what slight variations I get. I wouldn't necessarily do it with a huge amount of words, but if I have like smaller couple words or something, I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but I just don't know what would be changed as you jump from language to language. It's a good point though.
Yeah, you could end up with a new Bible. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have another question, if no one else has a question right now. One of my biggest challenges when I'm looking up something is keeping everything organized. And, I find that, I have stuff on my, Google Drive, and I have some stuff saved on my computer and some stuff saved on here and there. And I can't remember where I have it. How do you keep where you get all these sources? Now you said you will translate stuff and save it as a Word doc. So how do you keep, when you're on a subject, how do you keep it all organized in one spot so you can find it again?
I usually have I usually keep all this sort of stuff on a Dropbox. So I just have like folders in Dropbox for different subjects. So, and I, at this point, have, I don't know, 3,000 PDF papers. Like I have an addiction. Like if I see it, I like download. I will never, if I read one every day for the rest of my life, will not be able to finish all these papers. And yet I will keep downloading them. And then I've, so I have them all, and now I've been trying to move them to file, because often these papers are, the titles are either, like 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 .pdf, or they have a title in a different language. So I often will make an English title, but then that depends, because sometimes you're going to search for something in the Russian again, and you're going to download it because you forget that you have it because you changed it to an English language title. But then when I have them in different folders within my Dropbox, and then usually I have like, I don't do a bunch of, I'm not usually researching one thing over here and one thing over here. And I'm usually pretty focused at one point on what I'm researching. But, you know, like things like the Roman stuff is something I keep going back to. So I just can pick up whenever I want because I have the document in the folder with everything. And I do that with, you know, before Pinterest with my web pages or bookmarks. I have bookmarks that have different folders as well. So
I find when I have, especially when I'm putting down and picking up research, I do a manual index. So I have an actual sheet of paper with a pen, and when I save something, it's titled with whatever the research is. And so whenever I save something to one location, I note down what it is and where I've saved it to. And it all goes on the same page so that if I pick up that research again later, I just go to the file folder, I find that one sheet, and I can know where I have all my research for that one subject already filed. And if I'm just downloading something more and saving it in different locations, those get noted down on the same sheet of paper.
yeah, that's a good idea. Sometimes I just like, you know, have like sheets of paper like this where I write all kinds of stuff and then I, you know, have these scraps of paper everywhere. I'm sometimes not super organized about, because for one thing, you get in rabbit holes. So you're like, ooh, that's really interesting. So yes, it's much better to be organized.
I'm working on right now, what I have been sort of looking at is some of the Cantigas de Santa Maria in terms of looking at the original music. And what I have found I've been doing is printing them out. So I'll print out the original, I'll print out a square note version of it. Eventually, hopefully I'll be doing my own interpretations of them, which will then go on to my, I'll be putting into my music writing program and printing it out that way. So I find for me, having a physical, you know, of images, having the physical there works well, and having them in a file folder, I could then have, there's the file stored on the side. Just get
Yeah,
that.
I used to be that, and then I moved one too many times and do not enjoy paper. Like actually my last move, which was a year ago, I got rid of, I had class handouts that I got from a class I took from Laurelin my first year in the SCA. Like I had file folders, like you say,
Guilty as
but
charged.
I've never really gone back to them. So I just keep moving around these papers. I have books like literally at this point are like 5 feet away. And I would Google that before I go and pick up the book because that's how lazy I am.
I'm the other way around, but I'm going to share something with you guys from where I am in my study. That's, those are my 2 degrees on the shelves there, and down there on the end, lower it down a bit, Ithra things in binders. Got them. I actually do still go back to them occasionally.
Yeah,
But
I have books with the bookmarks as well. Yeah, that's a lot of bookmarks, which are great. I always sit there and go, why did I have that bookmarked again? But
the little copper arrows you get from Lee Valley are wonderful, but the tabs, you can write what your thing was on, right? Like that.
yeah.
This reference, that's this reference, that's this reference.
Have you ever come across where you have found a resource and you use that resource, and then later, you know, like we often see over time, that maybe there's been a change or some new technology, and now the resource you used to use and, you know, found it to be reputable, but now over time no longer is because of some new
sure.
discovery?
Yeah, sure, there's new finds all the time. That's why I like never say never and never say always, because we don't know a lot about a lot of what happened. Viking clothing would be a perfect example. People have a lot of hard and fast rules about what they did and didn't do based on very little evidence. So you have to approach things with caution and say you can develop a theory of what you think, but you have to be open to the fact that there's new finds, there's new information, and be flexible about it. And like especially when you start in your essay career, like I said, you have these like your views are out here on what you're interested in, and you don't know things like maybe a book with all line drawings is not the best source for costuming, because that's somebody's interpretation, and if you don't know where they got what they were drawing from, you don't know what it is. And so you start getting more specific about what you're looking for. Okay, now there's paintings you could look at instead, or now there's extant. And like you say, some can be discounted. I know that there's what's his name? Thor Ewing has a book on Norse costuming. It's actually quite good overview, but he has this one thing about one find having beads sewn on to the dress. And I thought, oh, that's super cool, but I couldn't find out anything about it. But it was in a book, so it seemed like it should be true. And most of his stuff in there was, so I finally reached out to him, and he's like, yeah, I kind of thought that, but I was wrong. So I'm like, okay, so I've been searching forever for information on these damn sewn on beads on a front of a dress, and they don't really exist. So, but at the time he wrote the book, he thought that was accurate because of the way they were found in the grave. So you should always, Vikings did not have time machines. You have to have a logic for that, but you also have to be open that you could be wrong.
So to segue slightly just for a moment, just to let everybody know, we now have the schedule of weekly talks every Sunday from now until the end of February are now up on the Lionsgate forum and the Lionsgate page. So what you'll just find is that I just put the date. I didn't want to like put the description of every talk because it would have been, too long. So it's just the date, which is on Sunday. They're all at Sunday at 4:00 or 7:00, sorry. Who's giving the talk, what kingdom they're in, and the title. And then as those pages get created for the event, there'll be the full description. So just so you know, that got put up today.
So we didn't say anything, but people can turn their video back on if they want.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Got to say that.
I figured once we got into the questions, that was good.
I actually found quite often I'll find an image on Pinterest, but it doesn't source the image.
Yeah.
And so I spend hours trying to find the damn image. Is there a faster way to do that?
Well, you can use Google image search, and you can tell it to look everywhere but Pinterest, like in the advanced search options.
Yeah, but if you find, say you find a picture of something that looks like an original source, but they just have the picture, they don't have any information on it, and it'll pop up on Pinterest, but I can't find it anywhere else.
Well, sometimes people upload things themselves, so they don't get it from another source on the web. So you potentially reach out to the person whose board that is. But I use the Google image search a lot because you can upload that specific picture and find every version of that picture. Sometimes it'll go, well, this looks like a button, and it's not. but often you can find, like, say, if there's a painting that you don't know what it's called or who did it, you just download it from wherever you found it and then upload it to the Google image, or you can do it from a website and it'll find where that image is. You sometimes have to dig through a bunch of pages to find where it's from. But a lot of people put things up that they don't put any link or anything, so it's less.
Drives me crazy.
Well, and it's whack-a-mole too, because once one person puts it up and other people share it, you don't even know where the original post was.
Yeah.
I'm having a bit of a challenge where a little bit ago, I guess a couple of years ago, the Museum of Denmark posted some pictures regarding some of the textiles they had, because they had discovered that some of their stuff was metal, not linen or something else as they thought. Trying to find, so I mean, there's a lot of those same images on Pinterest, but I can't seem to find where, because I want a couple of those images for some of the research I'm doing, just to, as an example. And I can't seem to link it back to the Museum of Denmark anymore. They don't have that. They don't seem to have their images up for just anyone to see.
Are you sure? Because I mean, last time I looked at the Museum of Denmark, they were all there. You can reach out to them and ask them for pictures, and they might have more, because not everything they have is on display. So they might have, that would help if you saved like the ascension number, grave number, whatever it was that it was found. It makes it easier for them to know.
They didn't have that. Okay, first of all, I am exceptionally new to research, so I wouldn't have known to make that notation even if they had it in that original stuff. And I can't find any more information on it. But the biggest issue was the fact that this was stuff they had already had in from the bog finds. They had already had it listed as linen or hemp because they just assumed. And then new technology came along with their microscopes and everything else. And that's when they discovered, oh, wait, this isn't. And they actually found that some of this fabric came from often Scandinavia. It actually made the trip over to Denmark and the like. And what they were coming up with was a burial cloth that was out of nettle, and the DNA showed it to be from Scandinavia. This is out of articles since then, but I can't find the images again. I'm like, so frustrating. So, okay, so,
Well, if you know they're from the Museum of Denmark, did you try reaching out to the museum itself?
I did send an email, but I suspect that maybe my very newness to this whole entire concept may have had them go, whatever, and ignore me, because I never got an answer back.
Yeah, you could also post in some of the Facebook groups, especially some of the more scholarly groups where, you know, there's going to be people that know more about that subject that can point you in a better direction, might have a book with that in it, might have the ascension numbers, whatever, for that particular subject.
Okay.
Like Facebook groups, there are a ton of them for every subject you can imagine that have people, in some cases, people who write the books we read are in these groups, and are usually very helpful if you're looking for stuff. So
as far as I can tell, the stuff about nettle cloth is not in any books per se, because it's something that they only just actually realized, other than the inventories from King Henry VIII and actually the Medici Castle mention nettlecloth, but because these are inventories, they were handwritten. And it's only as people are putting them into text, searchable text, that I was able to even find some of the references to them. So still, I mean, this is where the internet actually has been helping. So it's
Just
a
have
bit of
to
a
keep
challenge.
Yeah, just keep digging, ask around.
Yeah, okay.
Like I said, in some of these forums, people will know, especially when there's groups with people from Europe, et cetera, that are at these museums all the time. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone
I
else?
think one thing we're going to be seeing is it used like my area is more naturally dying these days, and it's always been that we had to destroy a sample of a textile to get that information. And it's really becoming clear over the last few years that there's very inexpensive, very portable ways using light to analyze textiles. And so the number of papers in like 2019 and 2020 where this stuff is coming in now, you're seeing it in Egypt and you're seeing it in South America, and I think we're going to start seeing it in Europe. So there should be, speaking of research, a lot more stuff coming in now that the technology is caught up to be more non-invasive to textiles.
Same
So
with
I'm
art.
really excited. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what's going to come down the line that might kind of, some of the things that we taught. I think there's more stuff coming that's going to change how we see how people dressed anyway. So we'll see. I'm excited about it.
Because they never cared often about the textiles. They cared about all the metal bits and the cool things like that. And they kind of just tossed the textiles to the side. So now they're getting more, in-depth research on textiles that they never did before. So it's cool, and there'll be a lot more information coming out. And, you think about what information and how connected we are now with people. Like I was researching the Finnish costumes for Ulf and Kiva's Step Down, and I had a group of people in Finland who were helping me with information. And, that's super cool, that things that we can do now that even 10 years ago, like when I started my Viking research 20 years ago, I was in a hotel room. So I started, because I was in Toronto doing a consulting job. And so I had nothing better to do than spend time on the internet looking for things. And I wasn't conveniently located to bookstores or libraries or, so then I would just start searching for all the things in the bibliography of like Thor Sharptooth's webpage at that point. So the difference between then and now is amazing, and it's always going to get better as technology improves. And I think the lockdown is improving it even more because museums and things like that are getting way better at putting more stuff online to be available for us to look at, which is very cool.
It just reminds me of what it was like. Christina will remember this too. What it was like when we joined the SCA 40 whatever years ago. And there's nothing, before the internet. You're muted, Chris.
Looks like she's frozen.
No, she was
I'm
muted.
back. No, I wasn't. I had muted myself. It's like I remember we used to have to go and get photocopies from UBC and travel everywhere to get anything we could.
Oh, I remember you giving me the my first minstrel songs that you hand wrote for me.
Yeah,
probably during one of your classes.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I come into
Still have those.
I come to research honestly, because when I was in high school, I would go see a show like Evita, for instance, and then I'd be fascinated going, okay, well, what was she really like? And I'd go to the library and I'd be searching through microfiche newspapers of her time period to find out information about her. So research in the SCA just kind of fit that I need to know. Like,
yeah, I
don't know
remember
her-
spending so much time in special collections at UBC.
Yeah.
I don't know
Absolutely.
how many hours.
The
I
music
spent.
library, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I was researching a 20s musical, and I was in Victoria at the time, and I went to the UVic library to do research for the costuming, and they would let me take Vogue magazines from the 20s and 30s, and I went to a room and I went to look through it, and no gloves, no nothing, just looking through these old magazines. And then I moved to Toronto and I was researching for another show from the 40s. So I went to do the same thing. And then suddenly I was at a room where they gave me gloves and I could only keep them in. The Vogue magazines I was also able to take home with me from UVic. But then, so, you know, it's much more nice to just be able to sit here at my computer. And so we've come a long way from.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing renovations on my house right now, and a big part of it has been going through boxes that I haven't gone through in years and years. And I found, Kushag, you'll find this interesting. I found a whole bunch of music that I had photocopied out at the UBC music section, music library.
I bet all the pages were stuck together, weren't they?
And well, actually, they weren't, surprisingly enough.
Oh.
I couldn't believe it. I had this big, big white cardboard envelope full. And so I gave them to Nikolai because I figured he'd use them. But
I'll have to poke him.
I still have, and I loaned out a book that I had, someone got me from the University of Glasgow. And they'd photocopied the entire book, and it was the belted plaid and the saffron shirt. And
oh gosh,
yeah, I still
that
have
keeps
it.
me back.
It's a photocopy, yeah. But that's going back to having to photocopy 400 pages to get the resources you want for the thing, right?
And the photocopying wasn't anywhere near the quality that we
You
get
couldn't
now.
tell what the picture was by the time you got the photocopy.
Yeah. Well, I find that when I reference it, because I have referenced it for people, and I find when I reference it now, it's so old, I've had it for like 45 years, that sometimes when I'm going through the paper, some of it's coming up on my hands.
No.
Like the ink is wearing off.
You need to scan it or take pictures. You can use your phone as a scanner these days.
Did I mention 400 pages? No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about the Russians. They I don't know, Adobe must not be there because you continually find just JPEGs, scans of all these pages. And so you have to download 300-400 pages one at a time. And then I do have Acrobat, so I can combine them once I get downloaded, but it's just like hours and hours of, and sometimes these were before the high-speed internet, so that, you know, very slow to go from page to page, but we're very lucky these days with that technology.
Mm-hmm.
I just found that like I said, part of the luck we have now is that access to the inventories, the handwritten inventories, because of course they didn't do type back then, right? Where these are books that, of course, you're not going to be able to get them all around the world, so we wouldn't have had access until the internet and scanning, high quality scanning, where we now can have that. It's one thing to have it translated, as it were, into text, but I was able to download the actual handwritten images of the handwritten book and go through it using a text written, I call it translated because it's from hand script to text to readable
Transcribed
text.
is what you want.
Yes, there we go. So using that, I was able to find where in the inventory those particular words were. And I was able to actually see for myself, it wasn't somebody mistranslating it, it wasn't somebody mistyping it. It actually was as right there, nettle cloth, in a place that most people wouldn't have expected it. And that is stuff we would not have had even 10 years ago. So that's something we can also add to our searches.
I have free access to a Russian translator. So if you are stuck with something in Russian that makes no sense, one of my colleagues speaks four languages fluently and has a PhD in science. So she's pretty smart, and she will translate pretty much anything in Russian to English for me.
Yeah, before I had Google Translate, I had Gisela, my friend who's German, and so I was asking her to translate something for me. She goes, do you know this is just about like boring stuff they found in graves? I'm like, yes, I do know.
I've saved her some tablet weaving stuff and had her translate it for me. And because she knows she's missing idiom, she then reads it to you so that you can figure out what the weird Russian word probably means in English in terms of the terminology, which is actually really handy.
Yeah, technical
exactly.
Technical sewing terms and things like that are the most likely not to be translated because they're not that common usage, especially if you're talking about technical terms from when the archaeological thing happened, like say the 20s or 30s. So they might be words that have fallen out of use. So you get these words where you're like, even when you, so you just kind of have to make an educated guess about what that might.
And if you do get stuck on one of those, by all means, send it to me, because I can get Alex to try to figure it out for me. If she can't figure it out, it sounds weird, but she'll bounce translation options off of you and then if you have some context, she can help you figure out what it is a little bit easier than trying to guess it on your own.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I found some of the best like archaeological stuff I was looking at was either in French or Danish, of all things. And the French I can sort of wade through on my own and figure it out. But I happened to have a colleague at work who was Swedish, and he was saying, well, I can usually figure it out. And he did. It was pretty amazing. So yeah, make use of people around you.
I was hiring for an assistant, and one of the applicants was Russian, and I'm like, would I hire an assistant just because she can speak Russian? No, I won't, but it was tempting.
You mentioned you can turn Pinterest off through Google Chrome. How do you do that? Because Pinterest drives me crazy.
When you go in to Google to search, you can go to the advanced features, and then you can do like minus Pinterest. You can do that too with anything. If there's, say if like you're searching for a person and there's a famous actor with that same name, you can say minus this particular person. And you can do that. I haven't done that for a while because I keep the, let's see. That's not it. Honestly, I forget how to, oh wait, there's my advanced search. So when you go in the advanced, you can say none of these words, or you can say somewhere in here, you can get it to not search for specific pages.
Okay, thanks. I found the section, so
yeah,
I will.
I keep Pinterest just because it might be the only place, because people do upload, but then you end up going through all the pages and searching on to see if they uploaded the link. But I wish Pinterest were better, that you could find ground zero of because I have one costume that I made that is on Pinterest and it's misattributed for the time period and the place. And somebody sent me, oh, look, your thing is on there. And I tried to send them a correction. And then I just realized, oh, it's a losing battle because everybody that now has shared it has shared the same description for it everywhere. So it's like, if I go back to the first person, then it would probably change all of them. But
like all those Pinterest images of the Italian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those ones that everyone says are Italian, Sicilian.
oh, the Leggio.
Yes, those ones. I know those drive you crazy.
Oh my God. That is why those costumes are why I say the Vikings did not time travel, because I actually had to post that in the Viking costuming group, because I tried to point out to people, because they come up all the time in every time period. So they like, well, the Vikings traveled first off, they're modern recreations. They're cool, but they're modern recreations. They're Norman Sicilian. They're not Viking. But, you know, well, the Vikings went everywhere. And I'm like, but they didn't time travel. So even like they're 12th century, they're not 10th century.
I know, I hit a button for you. I totally did that on purpose. But there's so much stuff on Pinterest that's miscategorized that I just find a lot of times it's just, you got to have the patience to be sitting there knowing you're going to get so many bad hits.
Even museums have things that are misattributed, or, you know, like there's the ancient Finnish costumes where they were they kind of have like, look like they have like not a bib, but they kind of have wide straps, and that's how they were recreated for the museum. And that's wrong, whoever interpreted them, since there's been more fines. But lots of people have recreated that look because that's how the museums aren't wrong, but they can be. So it can be frustrating.
Have you ever, Izzy, come across any roadblocks, for example, like doing internet searches, where because you're in Canada, you wouldn't have access? You know, like, for example, I was researching an object, and you know, it was at this museum, but the museum didn't exist anymore because it was destroyed by war. And so they referred me to another museum, but it was in a country where I guess because I'm in Canada, I don't have access. I didn't have access to anything on there. Have you ever come across roadblocks like that in internet searches?
No, like you can get that for videos, but I've never had that for a website, that it's not available. Like you can't get into the website at all. Yeah. It might not come in your, you know, like Google, when you're searching, it starts tailoring to what you're looking for and what it knows you're looking for. So it might not show you something in Australia automatically. Again, in Google, you can actually change what countries you're searching in, but I've never had one where I couldn't get into it if I knew what it was. So that's weird. I'm not saying, obviously it's happened to you, but I fortunately have not had it happen to me. There's also, you know, like when I was talking about forums, there's not a lot of forums in North America, but there are, like, I'm a member of a forum, a Russian forum, where there's a lot of things. So there are types of forums still available to look at, but they're not necessarily in our language, but you can go search through them just like you can any other forum if you know the search terms you're looking for. And again, you get things that you don't get normally. Okay, it doesn't seem like anybody has any more questions.
I do not.
I enjoyed learning, though. It was great. I enjoyed seeing everybody's faces, even though half of you seem to be gone at the moment.
And I'm going to now head off and help with bedtime. So,
I was going to say thank you. This was exactly what I thought you were going to be presenting today, so it was really good.
If anybody wants a handout, just let me know, because I have like a PDF of this, but it's, I think the really interesting ones are if you find those apps for the phone. I use those all the time because I can, like I said, I can take a picture of a book or something on screen or whatever, right? So they're very useful.
Cool.
Oh, thanks. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So if anybody wants to stay online and chat, I'll keep the channel open so people can chat with each other and, you know, catch up with people that we haven't seen forever, like Colleen.
Yeah, Colleen. Her arm is kind of. Oh, she's getting headphones.
Sorry, I have my microphone's better with my headphones. So how have you all been doing?
We're surviving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The alternative.
True. I'd rather be pushing down daisies than pushing them up. That's for sure.
Damn straight.
Damn straight.
Absolutely.
No, and I'm in the pajama mode right now. Sorry, not garb mode. It just it's Sunday. It's wet. It's cold.
It's all good.
Yeah. But you all look wonderful.
You do. You know, I thought about this. I may not actually recognize some of you without your garb on if I encountered you.
You do this look, yeah.
I have a chunk of garb.
Ooh,
there we
pretty.
go.
Oh, that's nice.
What is it?
A belt?
Well, when is it? Where is it? Like it's a cloak fastener, but
Wow.
it was 75% off. So I accidentally bought it.
Accidentally, huh?
I felt kind of dizzy and a bit sick because it was still like a lot of money to spend on something that you didn't technically need, but if the universe hadn't meant me to have it, it wouldn't have made it be 75% off. So,
I like your reasoning.
That's great logic.
it's like sort of Turkish-y looking, kind of, but the detail's small enough scale so if you're like at the 10-foot range, it'll look kind of period, I hope.
Oh, wow.
So, Joanne, I was talking to someone in a group. It was on or before a course, and we were in the visiting room at the ITHRA. That's what it was. And she was going on about this ITHRA she took years and years and years ago, and she was telling me all about it. And it was about costuming, and we went shopping, and she was going on about it, right? And she goes, and it was Tanique and someone else. Oh no! I said, geez, what am I, chopped liver? And she just looked at me and she went, oh my God. It was Tanique and someone. It's like, oh gee, thanks. I know I'm not memorable, but come on.
Yeah, I've done a number of those seminars when I was in Seagirt, and I've done a couple in Lionsgate, and you and I did a couple.
We did a couple, yeah.
One in Lionsgate, and we did one somewhere else, and I don't remember.
Yeah, she recognized, when I just kind of looked at her and laughed, she recognized me, and she went, oh,
Was
it
that
was
the
you,
Sari Shop
wasn't
crawl?
it?
Was that the Sari Shop crawl?
Yeah, that was the Sari Shop crawl.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Christina and I started those workshops, long time ago.
Before Andrew was born, and he's going to be 35 in January.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
yeah, because I remember when you were pregnant.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
It's hard to believe.
Yes, but do you remember when I was pregnant?
Yes, I do,
actually. I've known Christina longer than any of you.
Well, we met when you were what, 14 or 13?
13, because she was almost my
stepsister.
She was almost my stepsister. Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents dated for a long
And how
time.
old were you, Christina?
Oh, I would have been in my 20s
Yeah.
when I met you.
Christina and I went to high school together. I was grade 12 when she was grade 11.
Yeah,
I know you were already
that's
in the
right.
SCA.
Huh?
I had just joined the SCA
Yeah.
the summer between grade 11 and 12.
Yeah. I was in the SCA when I met you.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's where I first heard about it.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you were all of like maybe 14.
I was 13, I think.
13.
Wow.
Yeah, because our parents lived together for about 3 years, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's right.
Small world.
So I don't know. I always refer to you as my stepsister because 3 years. They were common law.
Close enough.
Yeah, no, like I said, we got online here and it was like, oh my gosh, this is old home week.
It is. It totally is.
I'm seeing all these people I haven't seen in so long. I decided to not be invisible anymore about 5 years ago.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I got dragged kicking and screaming by some people. It's like, stop it, you're not invisible. Oh, but yeah. So what are people researching?
Oh my God.
Which list do you want?
One thing that you're
I
researching.
got costume stuff. I got card stuff. I'm still working on the stuff from the Mary Rose.
I'm looking up tapestry because I'm unhappy with the current state of the tapestry books I've got. They're just not detailed enough. I'm researching all kinds of cooking stuff.
I want to learn how to do tapestry.
It's fun. I love it. Oops. I'll pick up my loom. This is my 8th tapestry loom.
Right. Loom?
A thrift store. No, it's called a ram loom. It's actually meant for tapestry.
Ah.
So
very similar to a Salish loom.
Right.
Yeah, this one has teeth, which you can't see because they're white.
Oh, got it.
And it has the ability to adjust the tension based on
I have one of those. Aimlin found one at a garage sale for free. And so he picked it up and he brought it to my house saying, you weave? Here, it was free. I couldn't pass it up. And it's about a little bigger than yours, but it's got teeth on it.
If you send me a photo, I can tell you whether it's a tapestry loom or a cross stitch loom.
Oh, it's not a cross stitch loom.
Okay.
No, I do cross stitch. It's not a cross stitch loom.
You can always find the big Leclerc tapestry looms on Craigslist for like $100 or free even because they're huge and hard to rehome because people buy them thinking, oh, it's a loom. Then they get it and they go, oh, wait. It only has 2 shafts. It's for tapestry, and it's like this tall and this wide.
A whole wall.
Yeah, I have one of those.
I figured if I got really ambitious, I could use my warp-weighted loom for tapestry.
Yes, you can.
Yes, it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Leclerc ones are based on that, but have treadles. But they're set up that way.
Yeah. I saw one of those actually. I'm a member when I decided I wanted to learn to weave because I'd done. Actually, I think I do all the same weaving stuff you do, Morwena. It's funny, we have so much in common. I started with card weaving because it's small, it's compact, I can take it to places.
Portable.
And I was doing card weaving, and a member of our local Weavers and Spinners Guild up here saw me doing card weaving and invited me to a guild meeting. So I went to the guild meeting and the ladies were all there with their Appleseas and Fox Noses going, we have the cards, we have the book, but we don't know where to start. So when they do displays, I always get invited to demos because I'm the card weaver in the group. But wonderful group of people. My gosh, they're so supportive and encouraging, and they go all over. These women go all over the world to study their craft, and then they bring it back to the guild. It's just incredible.
Well, I only have the online guild. I have the Jane Stafford online guild.
Oh yeah.
She goes to the Middle East and India.
I know the name.
Teach weaving. Yeah, Jane's great.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah, she's on Salt Spring, I think.
Yes, yes. Actually, when I went to Salt Spring last month,
I was buying the silk, silk wool stuff that she was spinning, and she's not spinning it anymore. I'm like, but I loved it.
No, she's not doing any spinning, but she does still have hand-dyed silks. They're not done by her, they're done by her neighbor.
Yeah, yeah. But she had like it was so perfect. If you ever get a chance to talk to Lynette, I made her garters out of it. I made
she sells
woven garters for
the
her.
the Jaeger Zephyr, which is a wool silk, which is probably
Wool silk.
why she's
Oh my
stopped.
God, I love it. I love it. If I could find
so don't
somewhere
tell
else.
you she's got a bunch of colors on sale right now because she's discontinuing them.
Who is?
So there's a number of colors that Jane is discontinuing in the Zephyr, which is a wool silk mix by Jaeger.
Oh,
so they're on sale on her website.
Oh,
and her shipping.
What's her website?
JaneStafford.com, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And look
Can you
under
spell? Hang on. Can you spell her name for me, please?
Jane.
Yeah.
Hang on, we'll type it out.
And then Stafford.
Stafford,
STAFFORD.
Yeah.
And no, they're not super cheap. They're expensive wools, but she's got a number of colors that she's not going to carry anymore. So they're on sale. And I have to say her shipping is amazing because her online store is Shopify. So you add it to your cart, you click ship, and it shows up in 2 days.
Wow.
Ooh, this
So,
is
like,
dangerous.
I've ordered from Penelope, who's in White Rock, and it's taken 3 weeks to get here. I've ordered from Camilla Valley Farm in Ontario, and it takes 3 weeks to get here. But if I want it in a hurry, I order it from Salt Spring, and I get it in 2 days.
That's incredible.
And it's just
Rabbit
super nice.
hole, here we come, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's super, super soft.
I've been using the stuff that Asta's hand dyeing at Impossible Knot Yarn Shop.
Oh yeah, she's doing really beautiful dyeing.
Yeah, and I've been pretty much exclusively using hers, and I love it. She's getting her wools. I can't remember what the blend is, but they're from Italy, and I've been using only her lace weight and getting really great results.
One of the things that's nice too that Jane does is, so she's got the 2/8 cotton, that your typical 2/8 weaving cotton, but then they did a line of silks to match them.
Ooh, nice.
So they're hand-dyed silk, and they're expensive as hell. They're like $48, but it's a big skein. It's like 100 grams. So it's twice the size of the skeins you get from Sanjo. But a lot of them are dyed to almost perfectly match this 8/2 cottons from Maurice Broussard. So you can use your cotton as your weft, as your warp, and use the silk as the weft and get a beautiful, you use the cotton for the strength and then the silk for the softness. And it comes out super, super nice.
Silk is pretty strong too, though.
Yeah, it's just, it slips when you knot it.
Yeah, and if you push
When
it
you
too
knot it under
hard,
tension, it has a very bad habit of pulling out.
Yeah.
So
It
and also just that way you get the nice structure with, if you have tassels on the end of your scarf, for example,
Mm-hmm.
they're cotton, they're nice and firm, but then you get this super softness of the silk and the weft.
What I've been
That's
doing
why I like
with
the
my
wool silk combo, because it solved that problem.
Yeah, so she's got, like I said, she's got the Zephyr, which is not hers, but there's a number of colors that are on sale because they're discontinued.
I had one of our guild members up here lay on me 2 big black garbage bags full of Conans. Because up here they all do big projects and I do small projects. So I ended up with these 2 big black garbage bags full of Conans that are wool blend, linen, cotton, and an end is like a cone. Like they had an extra cone, so it got thrown in the bag. So I'm using those mostly for my warps, and I'm using the really fine, like it's fine, it's lace weight, but I'm using the 100% wool for my wefts, and they're turning out really nice.
So different working on a tapestry loom, because the wool that I'm using is 1970s cross stitch wool that I inherited. And I just, because it's wool, I pull it apart.
Yeah. This emerald is on sale because it's discontinued. Ooh, and I know you can't see it worth shit on this, but it's a gorgeous color.
It's pretty.
Because I have her cards.
Don't need more
Enabler.
threads. Don't need
Enabler
more
alert.
threads.
Yeah,
And are you
If
making
you guys buy it, I won't.
More threads. Come on.
If you guys
Marina,
go
are you
online
making
and
stuff
buy
to
the
make?
colors I want, then I won't buy them because they'll be gone.
Are you making stuff to like wear, Marina?
I've made like a hood, which I wove the fabric. I dyed the yarn and I wove it, and then I hand sewed it. And I've woven yardage to make some Roman, but I found that wool, it works really beautifully as twill, but it's a bit itchy.
Yeah, I bet.
In plain weave, so it's not very. I don't think I'll want to wear it. And I weave a lot of stuff for like Norse costumes, like the panels that they wear in the front.
Oh, okay.
Because I can do those fairly quickly, and people are interested in buying them. It's funny for someone who hates Norse costuming. I weave a lot of stuff for sewing for Norse costuming.
Fair.
So I just wanted to show you, this is kind of like the size of what they consider cone ends in my guild.
Oh my.
Nice.
And they're just beautiful
That's a lot
colors.
of trim.
And I'm just getting them handed to me because I'm a small weaver. I do for my card weaving, right?
Kate, remember Kate?
Yeah.
Baroness Kate, not Baroness Kate, Princess Kate. She came by to pick up some towels because I've been hand weaving, of course, cotton towels.
Yeah, I've been
And
seeing
she
the
yarn
pictures.
bombed me and brought me 2 garbage bags of wool because she's like, yeah, I bought all this stuff and I can't weave. Here, you have it. So I have 2 garbage bags of wool. It's good for tablet weaving. It's not enough to weave any cloth, but there's definitely enough to use for tablet weaving, and I have been using it for that.
I told Adana about your talk coming up. Oh, there he is. I told Adana about your talk and she's all excited.
Oh. No pressure.
No pressure. I think she just wants to see you again, so.
That's part of it, right?
Okay, Colleen, I have to ask, what's your SCA name? It's driving me crazy.
I don't know it either.
Everybody forgets it, and it's a really fairly easy name. It's Ellen Fiorin.
Okay, because I knew your face, and I just couldn't put a name to it, and I knew it wasn't.
Does this look better?
I actually did at the office when I mentioned the SCA. I taken cold fried ham to a potluck.
Yum.
And Isabel went, oh, they do that in the group I'm in. And I said, is that the SCA? She says, yes. And I said, that's where I got the recipe. And she looked at me and she said, well, how you must be new then. I said, no. Finally, I took my jacket and I put it up over my head.
Right, did the veil thing, right? Yeah.
Did the veil thing. She goes, oh, okay.
No one ever recognizes me because I always wear a headdress.
It's true. I remember encountering you at somewhere and you're wearing that you weren't wearing your headdress. And they didn't recognize you.
Yeah. I remember I was teaching a course at an ITHRA years and years and years ago. And in Vernon, and I was getting ready to leave because I had to drive home to 100 Mile House, and I had really short, really curly hair at the time, and I took off my headdress and I went to the bathroom and I grabbed some. Only people with curly hair will understand this, and I grabbed my hands full of water to bring the curls back, and I walked out, and Amanda started talking to me and someone else, a couple of people just kind of stared at me, and it was just like, did I just like take a course teaching? It's like, yeah.
I get that a lot because I say in the background a lot. I fringe on everything, literally.
I
know
do that too.
I feel more comfortable, but I've known, acquainted with like Joanne through her mom and a couple other people, but I've been playing for maybe the least amount of time as compared to the rest of you here right now. I've been only playing for about 15 years. So it kind of, yeah. But doing the virtual classes and stuff like this gets you really exposed a lot more to people that you've seen, but you haven't really spoken to or been peer feared at one time. It's not that bad anymore, but yeah. You know, those pointy hats kind of scared me off for the first 5-6 years I was playing. Now it's not so much.
Well, they make anybody appear these days.
Speak
that.
of.
I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a you want to talk, Nirgway, or is that a goodbye, Nirgway?
Sorry?
That's a goodbye.
Oh,
I'm thinking about it,
bye.
people, but
Night.
I'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, folks, I'm sorry I need to head off too, but it was nice to
Understood.
see everyone, and
It's very good to see everybody in the evening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got to pop off too. I'm in the middle of a I want to get her done project.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. It's not SEA related, so it's got to be done. It's time sensitive, so.
okay.
Okay, good night,
I
everybody.
I have to go in for a small procedure tomorrow, so.
Oh, good luck.
Take care.
Oh, goodness.
Good luck.
Okay.
Yeah, take care of
1:15.
yourself.
Yeah, no, it's just, I'll be out for a little bit, long nap, most of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I get to knock off food at midnight, so I should probably go eat.
All right. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
And that's me. Good night.
Good night.